Undoing Tax Abuse, known as OUTA, which was released on the 4th of January 2024. This report contains serious allegations against me and Mr. Ernest Khosa, the chairperson of the board of NSFAS. In view of the seriousness of the allegations contained in this report and the intention to tarnish my image and that of my department and the government, we thought that in addition to the media engagement that we have already had on this matter, we should convene this special media briefing. The purpose of this media briefing is to challenge the allegations contained in the OUTA report, refute the related distortions, and take the public into confidence on what is really behind these allegations against me and Mr. Khosa. Firstly, I wish to once again assure the South African public that as Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, I have never used any money from any of my department's entities for the purpose of funding the South African Communist Party, as maliciously and falsely suggested in the OUTA report. Nor have I received any personal kickbacks from any of the service providers to NSFAS or any of the other entities falling under my departments. I therefore wish to dismiss this baseless insinuation by OUTA, some organizations, including some sections of the media, that I as minister was involved in some form of corruption at NSFAS. These are all lies that emanate from a malicious fight back campaign. My conscience is clear and I have nothing to hide or fear. As stated in my statement on the 5th of January, I reserve my rights to take the necessary legal action, and I have also voluntarily decided that I'm going to subject myself to the relevant legal processes and ethics bodies of the African National Congress, its Integrity Committee, and the South African Communist Party, its Central Ethics Commission. And I wish to once again state that I have nothing to hide or fear. Secondly, my track record in fighting corruption at NSFAS and our TVET colleges and the SETAs speaks for itself. My fight against corruption and maladministration dates back since the appointment of the first administrator at NSFAS, where disciplinary processes were initiated against some employees following the discovery of some wrongdoing and financial misconduct by these employees. With the current NSFAS board, I have supported their initiatives to deal with ghost students who were benefiting from the scheme irregularly. I also directed the board of NSFAS to implement the recommendations of the Vensman's report without fear and without any favor. Part of these recommendations is the termination of the contracts of the direct payment service providers. Thirdly, as you may be aware, the SACP has already made its stance known on the false allegations contained in the OUTA statement and rejected them with the contempt they deserve. I also wish to place it on record, by the way, that I do a lot of party political fundraising, especially for the South African Communist Party, as is the case, I'm sure, with leaders of all our political parties. However, with the strict guidance from the SACP, I'm not permitted to raise funds from entities under my departments or knowingly from service providers in that space. As minister, I also wish to remind the country that I have absolutely no role or direct influence in determining the allocation of training funds by any of the SETAs, including the services SETA, by the way, which is named there as having benefited the South African Communist Party or myself. That is being mentioned in this malicious and largely false report by OUTA. Fourthly, as stated, it is our view that the allegations against me as minister and the attacks on the chairperson of the NSFAS board, Mr. Kosi, are part of a nefarious fight-back campaign that is linked to success and measures I have taken to fight corruption and ensure clean governance at NSFAS. This campaign, unfortunately, fight-back campaign, now includes threats to the life, person and security of the NSFAS chairperson, who has been getting death threats since this report of Versman's was out. You would recall that a finding was made by Versman's attorneys that the appointment of 4 direct service providers who are paying allowances for students was irregular, and that in line with the recommendations of the Versman's report, the contracts of these service providers would be terminated. And that in doing so, we had to ensure that the students are not affected negatively. It is our view that the leaked so-called recordings are part of a nefarious fight-back campaign that is meant to undermine and frustrate the decision of the NSFAS board to start with the legal proceedings, which they are going to be doing soon, to terminate the contracts of these 4 direct payment solution service providers, as recommended by the Versman's report. I also want to say my suspicion is that the very same people that OUTA was attacking initially, before this investigation was made, OUTA now is opportunistically colluding with the people that they were attacking as having been corrupt, because now there is a bigger price, which is the head of Blade Nzimande. I'm suspecting that that is what is happening here. And we say to the media, do your investigative work and find out what is it that is really happening. We are also of the view that the publishing of this report and leaking of the recording is calculated also to disrupt the smooth start to the academic year, and have no regard for the plight and well-being of poor and working class students. In any case, an organization like OUTA doesn't care about ordinary poor black South Africans. It's an African of the elite. It's an organization of the elite that serves the interests of the elite. As a public office bearer, I'm fully sensitive to the public concerns that the contents of the OUTA report and recordings has elicited. Mindful of this, I am seeking an urgent meeting with the NSFAS board this Wednesday, day after tomorrow, to further discuss and engage on this matter. Together with the NSFAS board, we are continuing to work with law enforcement agencies to ensure that all reported instances of corruption and maladministration at NSFAS are properly investigated and that swift and decisive action is taken. We are shocked by the reaction of some student organizations, I do need to say, to this matter, because we engage regularly with the leadership of the students. It concerns us that some of these student leaders may wittingly or unwittingly be aiding the nefarious agenda of organizations such as OUTA and the DA. Students have got legitimate right to raise concerns that they have. But when they begin to align themselves with allegations of this nature, with organizations that have no interest of black students in the country, they are actually aiding and abetting an agenda that in the end is against the interests of black students in the main, who are the main beneficiaries of NSFAS. Ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude my briefing this afternoon, let me indicate that NSFAS truly represents one of the most progressive efforts by the government to systematically break the legacies of intergenerational social inequality and poverty in ensuring access to and outcomes in post-school education and training in our country. This is particularly important if we consider the structural and social constraint to accessing education that was imposed by centuries of colonial and apartheid rule. There is no doubt that this government has made a decisive contribution towards breaking with these patterns and legacies of the past in our country. Under my stewardship, the performance of NSFAS in achieving the goal of providing students access and success has been remarkable. given the increase of loans and bursaries awarded for the poor and academically deserving students since the formation of the scheme. In 2010, for instance, a year after I was appointed Minister of Higher Education and Training then, TVET college students were included for the first time ever in NSFAS financial support for the first time as a decision that I made to expand NSFAS to TVET college students. In 2010, I also initiated the process of the very first ministerial review of NSFAS. In the years following this review, continued effort was provided to ensure increased allocations to NSFAS, and additional allocations, by the way, were provided also to address student debt. People forget about this. At some stage, we wrote off student debt of the old NSFAS scheme under my leadership and under my stewardship. By 2014, NSFAS funding had grown to 8.96 billion rand, supporting 414,802 students in universities and TVET colleges. In 2018, as government, we introduced a newly fully subsidized model of student funding, which has now been in place for 5 years. Through this model, students not only receive support for tuition fees, but receive additional support for living and accommodation expenses and learning material support. By 2020, NSFAS was supporting 765,740 students with a total budget from the state of 37 billion rand. In other words, from 2009, 2014 to 2020, from 8.96 billion to 37 billion. Almost close to 4 times. Last year, the NSFAS budget was at 47 billion rand, and it continues to grow over the medium term, supporting about 1.1 million students. Over 70% of undergraduate students in our public university system receive support from NSFAS, and well over 90% of students in our TVET colleges. The percentage growth in NSFAS funding over the 5-year period from 2015 to 2020 was 299%. And if you consider the period from 1991, at the inception of the NSFAS predecessor known as TEFSA, to 2020, the growth rate in student numbers supported by this fund has been 6,908%. This is a clear indication that government has prioritized student funding and broadening of access to those sections of our community who had no access to post-school education and training in the past. That's why I really take the strongest exception to be called a thief to actually take money away from the poor students. I have no such record. That is why, by the way, the SABC, I want to say this, I was very unhappy with SAFM this morning. They say, yeah, their employer Nzimande said to have taken 500,000 rand from Willie Madisha at some stage. They don't do basic research that the person who accused me of that came out to apologize and say they plotted this thing with Willie Madisha as part of a political attack on me. But when I heard this morning, I mean, as our spokesperson, I think you must lodge a complaint officially with the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Because that was just rubbishing me as if, well, he is actually used to doing this. And I do urge the media that in cooperation and working together, please tell the truth and do your background research. It mustn't be us who do your own background research. Now, in the current year, NSFAS is funding 1.1 million students. This follows an unprecedented surge in the number of applications received by the scheme. We are mindful. Before I say that, the other notable milestone with NSFAS has been the integration of all public universities and TVET colleges to what we call the student-centered model, wherein students apply directly to NSFAS for funding, and they get told even before they are accepted at an institution whether they qualify for NSFAS or not. Now, we are mindful of the application-related challenges experienced by some students, and in this regard, NSFAS has been working tirelessly to ensure that it improves on its processes for applications and ensuring quick turnaround times on funding decision preparation for the 2024 funding year. It's a lie that NSFAS is lying on its stomach. It's a complete lie. Yes, NSFAS has got problems and challenges, including, by the way, with the payment of allowances to students, which we agree the Wertmann's report has explained the source of the difficulties that we are actually having. But to say NSFAS is flat, is dysfunctional, is simply not true. You will have to see how many NSFAS students are going to be graduating now with the graduation ceremonies that are coming for 2024. There will be lots of them, because NSFAS is just churning them out. We must distinguish between problems and challenges, which we acknowledge, by the way. And I'm working hard with NSFAS board to deal with these things, but to then want to rubbish the scheme just because there have been problems with payment of allowances doesn't reflect the true picture. As part of my oversight over NSFAS, this coming Wednesday, the 10th of January, I will be meeting the board of NSFAS to receive progress on the 2024 application process, the finalization of the 2023 disbursements, the implementation of the accommodation pilot project, student accommodation, and the phased implementation of the comprehensive student funding model, particularly the funding of the missing middle through the NSFAS loan scheme. I'm meeting with NSFAS to discuss this, and I will be making some announcement already in a press conference that hopefully I will be holding here on Thursday. In conclusion, as Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation, I wish to assure the people of our country that I stand firm on my commitment to rooting out corruption and ensuring clean governance at NSFAS and all the entities under my departments, and will not allow any organization or individual to distract me from this task. I further wish to assure the people of our country, and in particular the students and stakeholders in our post-school education and training sector, that I remain committed to ensuring that we have a smooth start to the 2024 academic year. If the people who are doing this were hoping that they are distracting me, sorry, not at all. I am not distracted, not a moment. I am focusing on our young, black in the main students to start the academic year smoothly. As I have said, I'll be having the first of 2 press conferences later this week. The second press conference will be after the matric results, where we'll also be announcing how many spaces do we have in the light of the matric passes, to inform the country and our stakeholders on our preparedness and readiness for the start of the 2024 academic year. Most importantly, I remain committed to ensuring that the over 1 million poor and working class students who are dependent on NSFAS receive the necessary financial support to pursue their studies. I once more urge current and prospective students to finalize their applications before the 31st of January 2024. I also want to end by saying that we play the role of being ministers. We are not fair game. It's like if you are a minister, some gossips that are taking place all over the place, people just take that, throw it at you, because you are a minister, it's going to stick as fair game. As I've said, I'm seriously looking at my own rights that are being violated in this process of being faced with allegations that are spurious. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. We will now give an opportunity to you, colleagues from the media, to ask any of your questions, and I'm sure you have prepared those already. So what we're going to do is that we're going to have a round of 3 questions. And as per usual, could you just kindly introduce yourself and the institution you represent as you ask your question? And we will now open for the first round. And I'll note, colleagues, for the first round, see you there. Okay, in that order. Okay, you may go.
First me.
Yes, please.
I'm Jaffa from ENCA. I just wanted to ask Minister, in terms of your action, your legal action against OUTA, has that already happened or are you planning to? And then secondly, OUTA indicated that they are planning to hand over these recordings to the SIU. What is your response to that? And then thirdly, Ishmael, I don't know if you want to say anything on NSFAS's part, because the board chair has been heavily implicated as well. If there's any response to all of this. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Those questions have been noted. Yes, Bob.
From Newsroom Africa. Minister, you talked about being available to be processed through disciplinary processes of the SACP and the ANC. Where is that coming from? Have they reached out to you, or you are merely taking an initiative to claim your name within those military structures? But also, have you engaged the statement in these recordings and can absolutely tell the nation that actually that's not your voice, that's not you? Can you clearly give us a position from your own understanding, despite the actions that you are seeing in taking going forward?
Let's just check if there's still somebody in this round. Okay, let's take you, and then we'll take, after you, we'll do the next round. Yes.
Rose from Business Report. Minister, could you give an indication of how many applications you've received for university admission and tertiary education this year?
Okay.
It's more than half a year.
Okay. All right. Okay, let's respond to this round, Minister, and then.
Thank you very much for the questions. At the moment, I am exploring all legal options that I have, which of course would include my lawyers studying this OUTA statement. And also, the sooner OUTA gives all that they have, the better, because the one option I'm considering is to demand that whatever other information they claim they have, they must put it on the table. But I don't want to preempt what my advice is going to be, because my lawyers are actually looking into this. I don't have a problem with the SIU if it's given a proclamation. It's already in NSFAS, by the way. If it's given a proper proclamation to investigate whatever it wants to investigate, I have no problems. As a matter of fact, the SIU has been in my institutions, I don't know for how many years now. Possibly almost close to 10 years in some instances. They've been at Fort Hare, they've been at NSFAS. Where else have they been? They've been at NSF. No, not yet at NSF. They want to get into NSF. They've been in the CETAs. They are now at the Prof Nzimande College of the Tibet. I have no problem with that whatsoever. Now, Mhlaba, I am taking the initiative to go to the Integrity Committee of the ANC and what is called the Central Ethics Committee of the Central Committee of the South African Communist Party. It's on my own volition, because I want to go there and account and put my side of the story as to what is it that I know. But cooperating with any law enforcement agency also, I do not have a problem, because as I have said, I have no fear whatsoever about my own integrity. But what I take exception to is what I'm saying, that people just come out with allegations with nefarious. I mean, if you look at the OUTA statement, it's worse than its stamp. You know? It's mixing all sorts of things, services, SETA, this and that and so on, just to try and rubbish my own image. Now, No, I have no voice of my recording in these recordings that are being played around. I wasn't recorded in that. It's not my voice that is there. If you think that there's my voice, that's wrong. They claim that there's the chairperson, and then there's a Mr. or Miss A, a Mr. or Miss C, who is actually there, who are not being said who they are, and so on. I have no voice of mine there. I've not been recorded in this instance. I've been recorded before. These days, I mean, being a minister really has become a job that is so terrible in many respects. But not in this instance. So it's not my voice. I'm not there. Well, unfortunately, I don't have the latest figures. I don't know, Ishmael, have you got on the number of applications of NSFAS so far? Remember, by the way, it wasn't closed. It's closing on the 31st of January. And also, it's likely to peak, by the way, after the matric results on the 18th, because some students are waiting for that. But as of now, its applications is 668,721 students who have actually applied. By the way, this shows confidence in NSFAS. It's absolutely so. I think that I have answered all that I need to answer. Thank you for now.
All right, we can have another round if colleagues still have questions. A lot of things have been very clear, right? Have been very clear and straightforward, but it doesn't mean that you may not still have some questions, you know. So we'll check around the room. Are there further questions? Okay, let's note your hand. Is there any other colleague from the media who perhaps has a... Oh, okay, here at the back there.
This is not directly related to...
Okay, yeah, just one moment. I want the colleague to start and then you can follow. All right, yeah.
I have a question here from Brian Sophie from the city. Minister Nzimande, have you already served legal papers on OUTA? The letter has already been referred to law enforcement officers. What do you seek to achieve from the legal challenges?
Okay. That is the colleague from GCIS, right? Online.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah. So they are helping us. So noted, Bamshaba, and then you can follow.
This is not directly related to NCFS. Can we ask other questions in terms of the Department of Science and Innovation?
Sure.
Okay.
Minister, could you update us on what's happening with the multi-spontaneous sensor and also what's happening with the meerkat initiatives? Thank you.
Well,
Just one last question, Minister. Zimiro Mhlaba from News of Africa. There are some political parties that have already released statements calling for the minister to resign, the ATM. After explaining what you just explained to us now, are you concerned about your job? Maybe have you had a conversation with the president about if the president seeking clarity on what's happening? And are you planning to engage him on it, just to give him your side of the story?
okay, yes. All right. Can we
Okay.
yeah, can we respond to that, Minister?
On the first one, as I have said, I'm engaging with my legal people as of now and exploring a number of legal options. I don't want to preempt that as to what their suggestion is going to be at the end of the day. But as soon as I've made a decision on their advice, I will announce that. I'll talk about it. But I couldn't just sit back and not go to my lawyers when we are being turned into sitting ducks just because we happen to be ministers. For every Tom, Dick and Harry to insult us as they wish. So I will announce at an appropriate time. I don't want to preempt that. I'm exploring, as I have said, Brian, all legal options at the moment. Well, I don't have, unfortunately, the details. You know, if it was a press conference of DSI, I would also be having my DG and other officials. All I can say is that with the meerkat, everything is going well. we are now going to be moving the second stage of beginning to build those dishes for the square kilometer array. The construction is going to be starting very soon, which is a project that we are really excited about because we're going to be building in South Africa one of the largest science infrastructure in the world for astronomy, which generates a lot of information. And also, by the way, I am told that the square kilometer array, the information that it's likely to gather, as of now, we don't have as yet adequate computer capacity to be able to process it. So it's going to be an opportunity also to take our computer capacity to much higher levels and things that we must do. So this is a vote of no confidence, by the way, the square kilometer array, on South Africa's science system. A vote of confidence. Oh yes, sorry. It's a vote of no confidence. It's a vote of confidence. Yes. You can see where my mind is. I'm not going to resign. Why should I resign? Really? Some recording mentions my name. Let me tell you, ministers' names are dropped everywhere, almost all the time. Sometimes you come across someone saying, Minister, I've been told that there is such and such and such. Sometimes you meet a person who complains. I've applied to a particular seater. They haven't responded to me. So as a public representative and as a minister, I can't say go away. Okay, I say, give me your details. I'm going to phone the CEO of the seater and what the problem is. Or I say, phone this particular person in a seater. You know what some of them do? The minister has said, you must actually give me this thing that I've applied for. This happens every day. Why should I resign? I have no need to resign. Also, I want to repeat this because I said this, by the way, with also this Mdwaba nonsense. That even when I go back to that 500,000 rands, I think I need to say this, Veli. You know, when I was accused for the first time of corruption, that 500,000 rand, I had never had the experience of being accused. And knowing that I had not done this, I immediately treated myself as an accused. And I was subjected to lifestyle audit. Some of it, to be quite honest, very demeaning. To go and count my wife's bras in the wardrobe, whether we can afford these bras and underwear, was very, very, very offensive. Because this Madisha had accused me of something and I had never been accused. Since then, when I reflected, I made a vow. If you accuse me, come with evidence. Otherwise, everybody will be accused and then you get... If you accuse me, come with evidence. With these accusations also, I want evidence, genuine evidence. Nzimande, you took so many kickbacks. Nzimande, you took 1 million to the South African Communist Party. We are a constitutional state, for God's sake. We are not a banana republic. That if you are a public representative, people can simply say whatever they like and then you are guilty. I vowed after that I will never, on the basis of an allegation, treat myself as guilty. The person who makes the allegation must prove it. In this instance also, that should be the case. They must prove it. So I don't see the reason why I should resign, to be quite honest. I'm doing my job as I've been given by the president, and I'm continuing. As I've said, Thursday I'll be back here with information telling the nation about opportunities that this government is expanding for poor and working class students. I've been engaging the president, by the way, on these matters on an ongoing basis. Last year, just towards the end of the year, I presented a report on the state of NSFAS to Cabinet. That was in December. That was now in December, in a meeting of Cabinet chaired by the President. I also presented a report on the proposals that we will be announcing on Thursday on the comprehensive student funding model, its first phase. That meeting again was chaired by the President. So I was briefing Cabinet in the President's presence. We are actually doing this. I also did phone the president. The president, unfortunately, is in Mpumalanga, to say, President, I would like to come and explain to you on what this is happening. I'm sure I'll get that opportunity. But the most important thing is that rather than just going to the president, I must go to the structures that are assigned to deal with these matters, which is the Integrity Commission and the Central Ethics Committee of the South African Communist Party, because that's where matters should actually be processed. But I report to Cabinet mostly around these things, especially also because NSFAS, whenever it has got challenges, everybody becomes concerned. And we have to take them into account, into our confidence as to what is it that we are doing. NSFAS continues to do good for South Africa. We are very proud. There is no scheme of its kind anywhere in the world that I'm aware of by them, especially in a developing country. Thank you.
I will now invite Ubabu Ishmael Mnisi, the spokesperson of NSFAS, to just come and respond to one or the other question.
Gasompisi, thank you very much. Minister, I can assure you from the discussions with NSFAS chairperson and the board that the chairperson has confirmed that he has not been party to any scheme to receive money meant for his personal use, nor that of the minister, nor the South African Communist Party. All that the chairperson has been party to are the continuous threats that the minister has spoken about to himself and that of his family. And this matter has been brought to the law enforcement agencies. And at the appropriate time, the chairperson of the board of NSFAS will also address the media in terms of these two meetings and the recordings themselves. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Babu Mnisi. Colleagues, let's just check this. We are now in the last round. We're about to end our briefing. Are there still any further questions? Okay, we have one hand. Is there any other colleague who wishes to, so that we know that that is perhaps our last hand, and then thereafter we will wrap it up? Okay. You may please pose your question.
Last question, Minister.
Okay, you may proceed.
In terms of the computing power that SKA needs, currently most of that is housed at the University of Cape Town. Will that be the situation going forward? And secondly, are we likely to source the supercomputer from China rather than the US?
I think that's a note on which to close it, Minister. Yeah, find a way of wrapping it up for us.
Well, insofar as SKA is concerned, by the way, you must remember that it's a number of countries that are partners, including China is one of them, but also we've got Germany, I think we've got France, and so on. All of them are interested in participating in building this computer capacity, in collaboration amongst themselves, and also some of them in collaboration with South Africa. As to where the ultimate decision on which areas and so on, that will be done through the normal process of the department in terms of supply chain. It can be any, I guess. It can be China, it can be the USA. As you know, as South Africa, we are champions of true multilateralism, and that we engage with the whole world. And we are not choosing who to engage with. Even the naughty ones like Israel, we have taken them to court, because those ones, they require a special attention because of the genocide that they are actually perpetrating against the Palestinians, the people of Gaza. I've never seen such a thing in my life. I'm 65 years. I've never ever seen such a thing. But I don't want to divert. We think it's a big opportunity. Yes, of course, we've got our High Computing Center, which is the CSIR one, which is based at the University of Cape Town. I have no doubt that it will actually be part of building to actually develop this computer capacity. Is that all? By the way, I must also just emphasize this for the sake of everyone. We are a constitutional democracy. Even if there are people who suspect that I've done something wrong, but I have my rights as well. I can't just be accused and then I'm taken as guilty. It's interesting, the people who are doing that, like those who are saying step down, without any due process whatsoever, they are the first ones when things are not followed up to say we are not a banana republic. So when it suits them, like the DA, we must act like a banana republic. When it suits them, we must act like a constitutional state. Everyone has a right. My own commitment is that every cent meant for NSFAS must actually support the poor young people of this country to acquire a post-school qualification. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Minister. That concludes our rounds of questions. At this stage, we wish to express our gratitude to the Minister, to DDG, to Ubabumnesi, the advisor, the other colleagues who are supporting us in the background, and a special thanks to you, ladies and gentlemen of the media, in particular for your patience. We had a bit of a abrupt start, but it seems like we have proceeded quite smoothly. And we hope to engage with you again on Thursday, and we will be sharing those details with you. That concludes this media briefing. Thank you very much.